Hi there, welcome back. We have got ourselves the second game of the evening in front of us. It is Goomba Gaming, the winner of the previous match that we saw against Extreme XPC International. The match that we did not see, but nonetheless also deserve a place here in this winners bracket finals, basically for Group B of the Dota 2 Romania Spring Cup. And that kind of means that the winner of this match will move on to the playoffs. And of course, welcome back, my co-caster, G-Advance.
Yay, we got the game again.
Yay!
God, it's been hard to get in. It's been hard to get these games going tonight.
Yes.
But it's been worth it so far. That first game was fun.
It was fun. It was definitely fun. I'm ashamed the Centaur... Well, not ashamed, but I'm sad the Centaur didn't work out because, you know, I'd like to see more Centaurs. But nonetheless, it was a fun game to watch. I'm curious to see how Goomba is gonna hold up their end in this game. Of course, seeing one game, you know,
10 seconds remaining.
it's one way of doing it. But are they gonna try to be a one-trick pony? Are they gonna try something different? Be something else? It looks like Extreme XPC International did kind of check out what Goomba actually did in the previous game, because they ban out the Lycan. So that was, of course, one of the core parts of which Goomba's lineup consisted of in the previous game.
Yeah, I mean, take it out of the pool early, and it just... There are other push heroes that you can do, but Lycan is probably one of the best early pushing and mid-game pushing carries that you can get out there. Others that you can do it with, like Luna for instance, are, you know, A, they don't push as hard, and B, they're actually a lot squishier and a lot easier to kill off than the Lycan. Lycan, he presses R, and then unless you have some serious hard stuns and lockdown, he's very hard to deal with, but... Goomba Gaming, they actually pick up Clockwork first, so this is pretty different to their previous game, because Clockwork does not fit into a push strat very well. All those extra creeps and stuff mostly just get in his way.
Yep, and perhaps a bit of aggression coming from their side. Of course, it is a great initiator, and I'm kind of hoping that he is going to be jumping all over the place. We'll see, though. And, I mean, this pick Clockwork can fit in any kind of lineup. Maybe, as you say, not in a all too much kind of a push strat. At least not one that involves a lot of creeps. But it can be mid, it can be off lane. It can be a 4 protect one. It can be anything really. Weaver, well, I mean, we've seen Weaver before. We've seen Weaver a long time ago, but he kind of fell out of favor because he's still kind of squishy. They combined that up with a Dazzle. We've seen dual lanes, Dazzle Weaver or Weaver Abaddons as well. Might be taking a step back to that one, but of course the one thing that you pick both of them up for is actually the minus armor, because the Swarm actually also gets some minus armor on there. I like the combination. I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with that Weaver, though, especially since Clockwork already is a fairly decent hero against the Weaver, because if you clog him in, I mean, there's no way he's gonna get out. Even if you go invisible, you're still stuck. Unless you, of course, press R or you time-lapse out of it, but you normally don't want to really use your time-lapse for that one.
Yeah, both Clockwork and Weaver kind of struggle to deal with each other, basically. In the laning stage, Clockwork, he can burn off the mana of Weaver, but it's one of the hardest heroes to do it against. He can hookshot him, and he can trap him in the cogs, but it's very hard to do it against. And Weaver, likewise, very hard to actually get some serious damage out on Clockwork. You need an extended fight, and it's very easy for Clockwork to just put his cogs down, hit one of them, and just walk out, and it's difficult for Weaver to get around that too quickly and keep on his damage out, so... Yeah, I mean, both these heroes pretty good for the moment. Like you said, Weaver Dazzle, great combination. Not just because of the minus armor, but also because Weaver, like you said, he's very squishy. He often puts himself in dangerous situations. It's a hero that's pretty good for diving towers, but if you get stunned up underneath those towers, it can be very dangerous. So things like Shallow Grave and the Shadow Weave. Is it Shadow Weave? God, what's it called? Shadow Wave. Alright, Shadow Weave is his last skill.
Wave.
All his skills sound so similar, like Grave, Weave, Wave. But his Shadow Wave, yeah, that'll help heal you up as well, and that'll help you underneath those towers as well. So yeah, pretty good combo for them so far.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot actually, because we haven't seen this in ages. I haven't seen a Weaver in ages. Normally, I'm not too big of a fan of him because he's kind of passive until he actually gets his first defensive item up, and that normally takes quite a while. But I'm interested to see him played again, as we have a Bat Rider picked up by Goomba. Now, we saw them picking up the Bat Rider in the previous game in the middle lane, And I mean, there was nothing wrong with that. That just worked. It was solid. It was the kind of Bat Rider that you would expect to see. It was a 9-minute blink dagger, and with that, of course, can create a lot of momentum. And that kind of brings me back to the Weaver, I guess, because I just said that he normally wants to get one big defensive item before he starts getting active. I think that Bat Rider is going to force him into fights earlier than that, because once he has that blink dagger up, and I'm going to assume Bat Rider is once again middle lane, then Weaver is not safe, and we might actually see Goomba being able to nuke Weaver down before he can get his time lapse off.
That is absolutely doable, but they are still backing that up with not just the Weaver, but with also the Dazzle. Yeah. So he's already got his defensive item, built in. It happens to just be one of his supports is going to be doing that. It's still possible to drag him way out of the range of the Dazzle, and of course, that's one of the big problems that Dazzle does have. If you don't put multiple points in Shallow Grave, which you don't particularly want to do, then the range is really limited, and obviously putting extra points in it feels kind of pointless, because it doesn't change the spell in any way other than your cooldown and your range on doing it. So that's something that possibly this Dazzle will want to think about, whether he's forced to actually do that. I think this will definitely be one of those max your Shadow Wave first, though. He needs to be able to keep those heals coming out, and without that, the Weaver, of course, like you said, be very, very vulnerable. And like you also mentioned, one of the things with Weaver, he doesn't farm particularly fast. It's one of his big issues is that he's in many ways a late game to a mid game farming hero. He takes a while to get to that point, though, because his natural farming capability is pretty damn weak. He moves around a little bit faster than your average hero, and he attacks twice every now and again. It's nothing compared to, say, a Lycan's ability to split push and farm, or, a Radiance hero. I mean, obviously, Radiance Weaver is doable, but that's pretty old school, and I doubt we'll be seeing it.
Yeah, you kind of also have to give him a safe lane for that, and I'm not sure if that's going to happen. It looks like that might still be an option. Bane can also go for a dual lane together with something else, like, for example, Mirana. I wouldn't mind seeing 2-on-2 lanes, Dazzle, Weaver, Bane as something else. Bane, Dazzle combinations, the Bane doesn't seem to fit yet with the two heroes that are now selected so far. But it
absolutely agree.
It might be, coming into perspective when they pick up their next hero, but we have to wait for that a little while. We've got mostly supports banned out in the second banning phase, the Vengeful Spirit as well as the Rubik and the Venomancer. I guess the Naga Siren perhaps can be called a support as well, but that's mostly to prevent the Dazzle from combining up with the Naga Siren, which is of course very strong. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what Goomba is still going for, because, for example, Nyx Assassin is still in the pool, and now they know that they are safe that XPC.
Well, this is a smart pick,
and I really like this pick because I kind of feel that they took this from the claws of XPC.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. I think XPC, they picked up the Bane third pick thinking Goomba didn't want it, and they were going to leave it. They were going to say, okay, Goomba, you've got a choice now. You can either ban it out 5th, or we're going to pick it 5th. Or we can just pick it next. But by picking it up and taking it from XPC, it's still a good hero. It's still a hero that can work for them. It's a very good follow-up on Clockwork or Batrider. It's not as good as it was with a Bane, but now XPC are left with the Bane that, like you said, doesn't fit the rest of their heroes. So they're actually going to turn around and pick up a Timbersaw here. And, well, that's not a combo with the Bane either. I guess they're just going to have to shoehorn something in now.
Yeah, maybe put the Bane mid or Dazzle mid. I mean, it's possible, and they are okay-ish against Batrider for a little while to get levels, mostly. I mean, they won't die until Batrider's level 6, I guess. But, I mean, like, the Timbersaw is a great hero, don't get me wrong, and he's very nice for chasing down the Mirana, because Mirana might be able to leap, but you can Timber Chain way further, so, it's nice for that. But that Bane just kind of, the unwanted child is not really fitting in at all. It's like the 5th wheel so far. Well, 4th wheel, I guess, so far. But we'll see what that last hero is going to be for XPC, because they need one more core, which, in theory, could be anything, actually. Considering that Dazzle and Bane could potentially be mid. And maybe Timbersaw can even be mid. I mean, Weaver can even be mid up against the Batrider. As Disruptor is the first support for Goomba. And with that, kind of, having a lot of control for themselves. The silence is going to have a huge impact.
Yeah, great hero versus Timbersaw as well. He pretty much can't escape from any fight now. His only option is to turn around and try and kill the Disruptor. And that's pretty difficult to do if the team is there. And yeah, I mean, smart pickup. I think XPC, they might even have to think about something like a Kunkka. There are, obviously, you can still use Bane just to defend one hero on the safe lane, but I think you're right about the 2-1-2 lanes is definitely what they were looking for at first. I think they really wanted that Mirana though, and yeah, I mean, they're kind of stuck in a situation now where they have a Bane and no hero to combo up with. Maybe they'll pick a Kunkka or something, maybe, you know, even just something that the Bane can just defend early, and he won't rely on trying to get kills early, he'll just be a defensive support, which isn't ideal, because he's a great combo killing support, but if you can't do it, you can't do it, and it's just a little bit how Goomba so far have outdrafted them. We're going to see in a few seconds, though, hopefully what XPC have got.
Yeah, I mean, Goomba is still expecting a mid-hero to be picked up. They ban out the puck. I mean, XPC ban out the Enchanters. We, of course, had a Chen in the previous game, which worked out very well for Goomba, and they were able to be very aggressive with that very early on as well. So maybe that is still an option for them. But to be honest, any kind of support would work for them. Even the Nyx Assassin, I would actually not mind seeing him. That Impale, they don't really have that much instant lockdown. I mean, Impale is not entirely instant either, but at least it is a bit more solid than an arrow. Or maybe battery assault. Windranger goes the way of XPC International. That is going to be their hero here.
Yeah, smart pickup. I mean, in some ways she's an alternative to a Mirana. The setup for the stun is, you know, it's slightly different, but she also puts out a fair amount of nuke damage. That stun, of course, on Windranger, the shackle shot. If you can set it up right with the Bane, it will be pretty good. So this is a pretty smart pickup for them. Obviously, it's not exactly what they wanted, but Mirana goes to the Goomba. Like you said, the second support that's got to come out, I think you're right. They need some sort of extra lockdown or disable here.
Tidehunter!
One of the... No.
Oh. Okay.
Sorry. No, I think they need something that they can use earlier for actually trying to help get some of these kills. Something that, you know, maybe even a Crystal Maiden.
Or
actually going to be a
Doom.
Doom. Wow, okay, they go greedy instead. That's surprising considering the 2-1-2 lanes.
Well, that could be Doom Jungle. We've seen that before.
Yeah, I think it probably will be.
Clockwork and Mirana can, like, to be honest, Clockwork, Mirana, Batrider, who really needs the support, right?
Yeah, I mean, Batrider or Doom, both of them can go into the jungle. Potentially the Batrider's a little bit faster, but he's also less vulnerable in the lane than perhaps Doom can be. Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty smart draft from Goomba Gaming here. I think XPC, they need to be fairly aggressive during the early mid-game, because even though they do have potentially better carry, which is the Weaver, there's a Doom on the field, and Doom is one of the hardest counters versus Weaver. I mean, obviously Doom counters everybody, but Weaver is the perfect Doom target. He relies on using his spells constantly, he needs to be ultra maneuverable, and Doom just completely stops that, and without that, it's not like he's a very tanky statsy hero, he's got nothing without that.
Yeah, you kind of can't compare him to Storm Spirit in that regard, in terms of how much he's been shut down with. As we do have a pause instantly coming out, and the unpause as well. Let's take a look at who is playing what. Goomba, we're gonna see them on the Dire side for this game. Rain will play the Doom this game, so they kind of switch it up, leaving Chill to play the Clockwork, who of course was the Doom in the previous game. And he'll be going on to the off lane. We've got Nier on the Batrider in the middle lane once again. The Nino will play the Disruptor. And last but not least, it is Odie who will play the Mirana. And that is going to be our safe dual lane, I guess, if you can call it that. Disruptor's probably going to second pool to get his levels. Doom in the jungle. Very safe laning for Goomba, and I think it's all going to be relying on getting that Blink Dagger up for Nier, getting that Clockwork up to level 6, getting that farm up for the Doom, getting Mirana a bit okay farm. And Mirana is actually the one that, if things go south, it's going to be on her shoulders to make sure that there is enough time for the Batrider and the Clockwork to get their items / levels up.
Yeah, and this is interesting, the laning that XPC are going to do there. Actually going to put the Bane and the Dazzle in the lane together. So this is going to be an aggressive tri-lane from them. The Bane and the Dazzle, it is going to be Razavan. He's going to be on the Dazzle. Bane is going to be played by Sub. Felly is going to be on the Weaver, or Felly97. In the middle lane, it's going to be Freak, which is the Windranger. I thought that would be a dual lane combo, but it's certainly a good solo mid hero in its own right. It's going to be played by... Oh, I already said his name, that's Freak. And last but not least, it is going to be Massacre. He's on the Timbersaw here, solo safe lane, so he's going to be up against the Clockwork. I want to see something, because the other day, I can't remember his name now, was it? It was the Clockwork that beat the Timbersaw in a 1v1 lane.
Yeah.
Who was that?
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember his name. It's like Punakin or something like that.
Pukan.
Yeah, he played a fantastic Clockwork that game. I almost want to see if it can be repeated this game, because I actually want people to think of Clockwork as a possible lane counter to Timbersaw, because it's something you very rarely see, but it's definitely doable.
By the way, don't you think that Dazzle's name is... Or not Dazzle, that Bane's name is Sub-Zero rather than Sub?
Oh yeah, it's probably Sub-Zero. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Sub-Zero La Heart Scotland. I thought it was like some sort of joke about Scotland. It was like one, like
Zero
I don't know.
is bigger than 3, smaller than 3.
Yeah, I thought something to do with that. Like recently they beat them in football or something, and I just hadn't noticed because I don't follow that.
I love what the Dazzle's doing here, by the way. I mean, he's harassing a bit. Maybe Dazzle is gonna pay for that a bit, but Doom is very... when he's in the jungle, he kind of needs to have a decent start, needs to have good camps, steal a good creep. He is very squishy early on because he is not able to tank everything up. I mean, he'll drop low. So, for example, if you play a pub and there's the Doom jungle, go to your enemy jungle and kill off that Doom. It shouldn't be too hard. And I like what Dazzle's doing. Just slowing him down will have a big impact later on delaying that level 6 on that Doom. As Mirana is also having a bit of issues with dealing with this Bane. Mirana so far only one last hit and is actually going to get boxed in. In comes the poison. There is still a leap. But Mirana is going to try to run. Now she leaps into the safety of her own tower, and also the Nino being around there to try and help her out should be needed. But it just shows how much difficulty she is running into here on this top lane.
Yeah, Bane, a great hero for shutting down Mirana as far as pushing her out of the lane. Not just because he can reduce your base damage, but also because at the early stage of the game, he's very statsy, and that's something that Mirana suffers with a lot. She has pretty good agi, but her base damage is so low it doesn't matter.
Look at this bottom lane. They're really having a man fight, and actually... Masquerade, he's turning around. He might actually die from the rage skip. No, that... Oh my god, that's stupid. I mean, I can't imagine... Like, stupid reactive farmer.
Yeah, that's probably annoying Chill here, but Chill has pretty much won this lane now from this point on. I mean, as long as he manages to regen health up, Massacre, he's not going to have mana to do anything for him for a while, and he's got way more regen than him. Well, that said, the reactive armor's doing work right now.
Oh, the cogs. Chill is gonna force Massacre to just stand there for a while. Oh, maybe top lane is gonna be first blood. Nightmare deny. No, the self tick through, and that's gonna allow the nightmare to happen. Mirana gets the first blood here on the top lane. And I mean,
where was that Dazzle the whole time?
Well, Dazzle was harassing creeps. But to be honest, I feel like the salve that was popped there on the Weaver was his own one, I believe. Kinda prevented the deny from happening. I think otherwise it would have been a deny.
Yeah, they had the possibility of doing that. That's just maybe just a little bit of teamwork issue that they have there. But my real issue is where was the Dazzle? And in fact, he's actually been caught out here. He might go down to these two.
Arrow coming
the
in
arrow hits.
Solid kill. 2 kills going the way of Goomba already. And yeah, out of position. You said it. In the meantime, in the middle lane, also some action as Freak sitting on 3 stick charges does wind run away or tries to. That, oh my god, that's a kill. But that turn rate, you cannot try and turn around and take down the bad rider. Like, you can't do that with that turn rate. So Nier is gonna live, though barely, but he lives with a kill under his belt. A solo kill at that, so solo experience for him. And he will be also winning that lane. So Chill, you mentioned it, he won his lane by having no more mana up on Massacre. Mirana got the first blood there on the top lane. There is a kill middle, so I'd say Goomba, they've won all their lanes so far.
Yeah, they're not doing badly. Chill, he's perhaps not farming quite as well as you'd expect, especially considering he has pretty damn good base damage compared to the Timbersaw, but otherwise, yeah, Goomba are playing this relatively well. The early stage of it was definitely damage control. They knew their Doom was weak. The Mirana also kind of weakened the lane just because it's so difficult to last hit with Mirana at this stage. I mean, look at her base damage right now. 53 minus 24. Yeah, that's not easy to deal with,
No.
but now that Rain's had an okay start in the jungle, I mean,
Whoa.
he's not leveling great by any stretch of the imagination, but
I
wow,
missed
Clockwork.
that kill, but
I missed that as well.
that's a
I
solo
was
kill
not
for
expecting
Chill.
that.
And I mean, in theory, that should not happen. He might have won the lane, but oh, lasso in the middle lane. It is gonna be the Wind Ranger that they want, and with the double demonstration up on Rain, perhaps they can. But the Wind Run is still there. Tries to turn around for a shackle, and that might have just cost him his life. Oh my God, that Doom hits like a truck with that wolf eaten. That is just he almost two-shot that with a double demonstration and that wolf aura.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what happens when you crit somebody. It's not exactly a high chance to, but that's basically quadruple damage there. Double damage plus a double damage rune.
Oh, the
And
Nino puts up the kinetic field. Oh, he gets it just in time, gets himself, but the Gemini attack is still there, and Weaver still gets the kill. So that's the first kill that XPC actually gets on a support disruptor. And, I mean, at least it's a kill, you know? That's good.
A kill's a kill, but they still need to do doing way more work in this. Like you said, the Windrunner there, she turned around to try and shackle in the middle lane, and that potentially took her out. And now this Batrider, he's going to have a pretty fast blink. He's even got an Invis rune here, so yeah, he looks like he's going to go to another lane and try and get a deal with Massacre here, because now that he's come back, but yeah, Chill again, completely burning off Massacre's mana here. This is great play by him.
Yeah, there's not a Timber Chain that's gonna happen. Flame Break to start things off with. There comes the Timber Chain from the stick charges. No lasso used because it's still on cooldown, but I don't think it's gonna be needed. 3 stacks of Sticky Napalm. Galim's back as well because the Nino came out to play, and that is gonna be Clockwork with his second kill of the game on the Timber Saw. So that is another blow in the face of XPC, who is now trying to ward up some of Goomba's jungle, but
It's potentially too late to ward the enemy jungle at this point. Rain has already almost hit level 6 here, and from that point he can very easily rotate and kill. He's already managed to rotate and kill with just a pack leader's aura, so yeah, dangerous moment here for XPC, but they are doing some damage collateral on the top lane. They're still mostly out farming them as well. Even though the Clockwork has beaten this Timbersaw in the lane, he's actually out farmed him. The Timbersaw has, and Windrunner's out farming the Batrider. Actually, no, she's losing her lane, but Weaver is definitely right up there on the farm, and Mirana, she's getting crushed as far as farm. 17 CS only at this point.
yeah, luckily for her, she mostly thrives of using her spells, and so far only Timbersaw is the one that she's really gonna have issues with, but apparently he's being shut down, so that is okay. But she also is gonna get kinda carried by Batrider and Clockwork, because we talked about this like at the start of the game. Once that Blink Dagger is up, once that Clockwork is level 6, they're gonna be the ones who controlling the pace of the game, and Mirana is one of those heroes that can just run behind those two heroes and still have an impact with the arrow, with the Starstorm burst damage coming out, and she will get her farm that way as the hookshot comes out. Chill catches the Dazzle, who does not have a grave, and it will get picked off. The Timbersaw Chakram coming through, but really to no avail. Nice kill by Chill, nice pickup.
Yeah, I was thinking that Razavan coming down here, he's doing it to try and maybe see if Massacre can go on to Chill there, but it looked like Chill was just hanging back, and then so Razavan, he just walks back on the Dazzle, doesn't realize that there's a ward there, gets hook-shotted, and even if he did have Shallow Grave then, I'm pretty sure the animation for it is too long, so Battery Assault from Chill will mean that that kill is guaranteed pretty much every single time.
Yeah, and I mean, why not try it again, but so far, yeah, I would assume Dazzle is not going to come back to the bottom lane. He's actually going top, and Lasso is top as well. It is the Weaver that they get. The time-lapse is not going to happen. It is going to happen. The Nightmare setting up for that one. Doom coming in. Doesn't get the Doom up onto the Weaver, though, as the kinetic field locks in the Bane, who's trying to do what he can. He still has got a Brain Stab. Will use it now as Wind Ranger coming in. The power shot, the damage on Odie is insane, but he has stick charges, and he might turn around. Arrow hits in the face of Feely, who's already doomed up. Can't get a hit off anymore. Galim's back on the Ranspan as well, who will drop. That is 2 for 1. Clockwork died on the bottom lane in the meantime, so first kill that Timbersaw was able to get, solo kill. But 2 heroes go down here on the top lane on the side of XPC, all because Goomba committed, and successfully so. Maybe not as successful as they wanted to be, but, you know, successful nonetheless.
Yeah, they still managed to get the target they were going for, which was the Weaver, and they actually managed to get one other, so I think that went better than they probably expected it to. I don't think they expected to get 2 heroes from that. They used the Batrider ult, and they weren't able to doom anybody else. That was great play from Sub-Zero in that fight, though, actually. Managed to get the Nightmare off at the absolute perfect time, gave Philly97 just a little bit extra time so he could time-lapse out of there, but in the end, with the Wind Ranger coming in, it seems like they were a little bit too confident, but they had so much sticky napalm on them that at that point that they weren't quite able to position themselves perfectly or turn fast enough, and they ended up losing the fight anyway. I think if they'd have played that more defensively, they'd have probably got out without losing anybody, though.
Yeah, I think so too. And they're gonna maybe regret that, but they're gonna try to go for near first. Flame Break stopping that from happening though, and Razfan, I'm intrigued by his build going for 2-0-2, and the reason I mentioned the 0 is that it is quite unusual to not pick up a level in Shallow Grave at all. I mean, even if you don't want to prioritize it, you want to have one level in it, right?
It's probably one of the best value point skills in the game. It's 5 extra seconds of basically being completely invincible for any hero that you use it on, and that really is huge. Admittedly, you know, maybe he's thinking, you know, they don't actually have that much burst damage on the side of Goomba. A lot of it is damage over time, and the Shadow Wave, it will do more damage to the enemy team as well, and I mean, yeah, I would be against it, to be honest. One level of Poison Touch is acceptable at this point, and he is pretty behind on levels though, so maybe he's just thinking, maximize my offensive potential, and maybe that'll make it easier for us to get kills.
Oh, Chill in some trouble, standing inside the chakram. He misses the hookshot as well, will get picked up by the Timbersaw. There is a glimpse back to the top lane from the Dazzle, as the Moonlight Shadow should be caused for the Nino to get away safely, but that was not how they intended that to go. They were trying to kill off the Timbersaw, but in the end, Clockwork just dances around the chakram and dies.
Yeah, and that is one of the issues that the Clockwork does have in this. It's a very interesting matchup, this Clockwork Timbersaw, because that Chakram, if you get caught in it for a long enough time, you're going to end up so slow, and pretty much guaranteed death there for the Clockwork. So, I mean, he started off doing pretty well, but he's now behind this Masquerade here. So, yeah, not doing as well as he perhaps was before. Maybe he should think about rotating a little bit. He would be able to pick off Freak pretty easily if he lands a hook shot, for instance. So, yeah, I think he should have left his lane a little bit earlier, maybe. But, yeah, it looks like he's doing that now.
Yeah, good for him to get some map control on the rest of the map, leaving Timbersaw to farm. He's been shut down quite a bit, but if you just keep feeding him kills, then of course he'll be right back where he should be, which at the moment, actually looking at the net worth list, he is actually doing really well. Second highest for his team, only Batrider is highest for Goomba, with the Doom actually fairly far behind, with Clockwork just kind of getting shut down there at the end. And he might not have gotten that many last hits, but he did get early kills, so I'm kind of surprised to see him so far behind the Timbersaw at this point. Does look like he's gonna try and make up for it, as he is bottom lane once again. Not alone, there is a Batrider around him. The battery soul is on, the hookshot as well. Cogs, will they lock him in? Oh my god, that damage coming out from the Whirling Death. They drag the oh my god, they drag the Timbersaw onto the Clockwork again, and that actually caused Clockwork to die together with the Brain Sap, of course, from the Bane. The Batrider will be able to escape, but they do not get the Timbersaw, which is what it all started for. In the meantime, looks like Weaver gets picked up. Nice kill, and of course the Static Storm preventing him from time-lapsing into safety there.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem with putting this Clockwork up against the Timbersaw for any longer. At this point, the Clockwork, he doesn't have any HP items. He's just sitting on a bottle. So every time he goes into this Timbersaw, he takes an absolute ton of damage. Like you said in the middle of that, he Whirling Death, and it basically halved his health. It was pretty insane there. So this Clockwork has got to think about going for other people. The Batrider helping pull in the Timbersaw closer to the Clockwork probably did not help. I think they were going to try and get the damage from the cogs on the side, but that doesn't work actually while he's flaming lassoed. Don't ask me why, I'm not sure why. I think it's a weird mechanics thing.
It is a weird mechanics thing, most likely. Invert's Rune in the Bottle of the Doom, who is, by the way, the one to go for the mechanism for Goomba this game, which is, of course, an important item, an item that Dazzle most likely is going to build on the side of XPC. He is the most logical target to build that, and he is so poor that it is going to take a long while before XPC has that one, unless someone else will prioritize it, which for the moment doesn't look like it. And that might actually be a big difference.
Yeah, it's a major item to pick up. It's basically 250 extra health on anybody in the fight. It's possible that you can get it on a Timbersaw, or definitely a Wind Ranger is a more traditional hero to get it on, but yeah, neither of them are prioritizing going for it at the moment. Massacre is going for the, looks like he's just going straight Bloodstone, but looks like everybody's on the top lane here. Oh, Massacre.
Yeah, lassoed, and Static Storm, and Kinetic Field. No hope for him. Oakshot coming in. Dazzle picked up before he can even cast one spell. Cogs go around the Bane. Wow, that was a wasted Doom.
Yeah, Doom ended up being wasted, but they still pick off 3 kills from that, and it's probably going to be a tower after that as well. They have their mech up pretty damn soon, so this is going to be an easy tower for them. And Goomba, I mean, they're playing to their style at the moment. Fele's actually been forced to go back for a Hand of Midas here, just because he's so weak as far as farm and XP is concerned. He's only level 8.
Yeah, it's not boding well. I mean, we saw what Goomba did in the previous game. Once they felt like they could start pushing, they kind of did never let go. Glim's back. It is a Weaver that is in some trouble, but he's able to get out of the kinetic field still, though. Still visible, of course, but able to get away, or does he? Does he really? Now he gets back towards his team, and they're trying to chase. Chasing with the Timbersaw, that is what you want to do. Great Shackle coming out as well, latching Chill and Rain together. One already down, the other one trying to teleport out, but cannot do so because he is dead. Kinetic Field preventing Goomba from being chased apart from Timbersaw, because he can just Timber Chain himself away. Gets Glimpse back though, and that's gonna save the Nino for the moment. Still getting chased down by a Wind Ranger though, as an arrow hits on her. Long range arrow. They are gonna try to go in on her. The Kinetic Field, Static Storm coming out. Starstorm still hits though, and it is not a kill. He is able to Wind Run away, and the Thunder Strike is already over. One leap might be putting Odie in position to actually get the kill going. Phase boots up on phase boots, and arrow can fly as well. Looking for the angle. Can they find it? There it comes. Hits upon the Weaver instead. Starstorm, not gonna happen, and Wind Ranger actually turns around to try to help the Weaver. But it is Odie that still gets the kill, gets away from the Weaver. The Bane still gets picked up as well. The chase just lasted for way too long. They should have backed off, got the 2 kills, be happy with those, and then just back off and farm. But they chased and chased and chased, and they lost more than they gained in the end.
Yeah, and I think that's been the big issue that XPC have been struggling with this game. They've been just a little bit too greedy, seeing kills that sort of over the horizon and trying to charge through into Goomba's territory. And Goomba are a pretty solid play. They're playing together as well, and they're pretty strong 5-man at the moment. I mean, the only one who's can do really damage to them through a lot of AoE damage is pretty much the Timbersaw at this point, and he's not even particularly farmed. We've seen Timbersaws with Bloodstones by now, and he's got a point booster, so he's well behind where you'd expect him to be. Goomba at the moment, I mean, they're playing this pretty well. They're keeping their team alive. This Disruptor's been doing a lot for them as well, helping get pickoffs on multiple different heroes, and the arrows that they can land after that, the coordination for it is pretty hard, but they seem to be able to do it.
Yeah, and they're gonna try to continue on with pushes. They go for the tier 1 bottom. Only tier 2s left standing after that. No towers down on the side of Goomba yet. And really, how is XPC gonna fight them? I mean, yeah, they have got a strong Timbersaw, but as we already saw, one Static Storm over the top of Timbersaw's head, and he is not able to get any kind of burst damage out whatsoever. So it's a bit tricky right now for XPC, and with the Weaver going back for Hand of Midas, he is getting closer and closer to having his Lincolns ready. But by the time he has that, there will be so many new ways for Goomba to get rid of the Lincolns. I mean, there's already a 4-staff up on the Bat Rider. There will probably be a 4-staff up on the Clockwork by the time that Lincolns is done as well. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that gets blocked by links, of course. You have Doom, you have a Lasso, but if everybody knows that you have a Lincoln, someone's gonna try and 4-staff you, your Lincoln is off, you're still gonna get doomed or lassoed or anything like that. So it's not really going all too well for XPC. They really need something to get them back, as a Glimpse goes back from the Timbersaw, still is able to be back there very fast though with the Timber Chain, but not fast enough to stop Goomba from escaping, as that next Timber Chain actually missed. And with the Moonlight Shadow, this is actually a turn and burn.
Yeah, they're going to try and go back in for this, but I mean, there is a Sentry Ward down. It's actually, no, that's one of Goomba's Sentry Wards, but XPC.
And that is going to be a Weaver without a Lincoln's lassoed and Doom and killed. Arrow coming on Razfenol. Again, not able to cast a single spell there. Glims back into the kinetic field. Freak stuck, killed as well. And there goes a Nightmare up on the Batrider, but it's only delay of execution from the Bane, who will also get picked up for 0. And I mean, that is just Goomba just rolling over XPC right now. They get their core items up faster than XPC, and that is all they needed. Core items and go steamroll, stop XPC. And XPC apparently replies with 5-man Dota as well, which is probably not the smartest thing to do.
No, I mean, they have to get this Weaver split pushing around, and the critical thing in that fight that I think Goomba are doing brilliantly is how they're dealing with this Dazzle, because they're picking off somebody, and then they're immediately hook-shotting and arrowing that Dazzle, which meant that he's not able to get any of his spells off, like you said, and at the moment, XPC are very reliant on those spells.
Yeah, and at the moment, the Timber Saw is dead again. Nice Shackle still coming off though, and Fiend's Grip actually as well on the Doom, but he'll be able to make it out alive as Raspan this time actually gets some cast up, gets a Grave upon himself, will live for the moment. Another Kinetic Field gets up, but it doesn't hit upon the Weaver. Shackle will let an OD as the Disruptor gets the kill on the Dazzle still. Arrow will fly, hit only a creep though. Lasso coming in, off cooldown again, gets the Weaver, kills the Weaver. That is gonna be Doom still dead maybe, but another 4 heroes dead on the side of XPC. And the 4th, yeah, there we go, now it is 4 because I was already counting the Bane in that one. Wind Ranger, the only one to survive that onslaught basically that Goomba has. Is it unstoppable? Is it?
I mean, potentially. The thing is that Goomba, all of their heroes are ready to fight now, and XPC we've seen, their Weaver absolutely isn't. Especially because that Dazzle isn't managing to get his spells off on him. In that fight, he had to use the Grave on himself, and he still didn't even manage to get out of there. XPC, maybe if they take a perfect fight, it's still doable. Especially because, I mean, they lost their Timbersaw, potentially their strongest hero, right at the start of that fight. So, you know, maybe if they can keep him going, but it's almost like they have to sacrifice somebody to the side of Goomba and then try and capitalize on it in a fight. Maybe throw away the Bane, because at this point, I mean, he can Brain Sap and Enfeeble, but there's no chance he's going to get off a long duration Fiend's Grip. I mean, Goomba are just playing too well. They have too many long range disables as well. Things like the Flame Break are great for stopping Fiend's Grip.
Yeah, and I mean, the question comes then, XPC. So the situation that they're in right now, 2 tier 2 towers still standing and the others down. And they fought for tier 3 tower. They fought for tier 2 just now in the mid lane, didn't actually lose it. But wouldn't it just have been better to just lose the towers and take that time to start split pushing or farming at least somewhere else? Because obviously they're not winning the fight, and we can agree on that one. And so should they even fight? Like, if you look at a team such as XPC, fairly unknown team, still learning, would this be a game where you would say, you know, you're doing okay, but your fights are just not working out? Or would you just say, you know what, why are you even trying to respond to what Goomba is doing? Because they're kind of getting forced into Goomba's gameplay while it's not necessary, I think.
Yeah, the thing is they have good heroes for turtling and split pushing, right? They have the Wind Ranger, Power Shot, it's a great anti-creep wave thing. You throw it out, it's 360 extra damage. They have the Chakram level 2 as well. They could potentially have saved that tower, or at the very least killed those last 2 creep waves from long range, but they decide not to do that, and the whole time, the Weaver is still in this base. He could be potentially somewhere outside the base and not catching the arrows. Yes,
not catching the arrows, important. We do see that the entire Radiant jungle is covered in wards from Goomba. I mean, we're backseat driving, obviously, but it is something that just raises eyebrows here. And Goomba, well, they're just playing it good. I mean, there's really nothing else to say about that. They are taking out all the outer towers. They took down Roshan, and with now the Aegis and all the towers down, it's time to go high ground. And you already said they have a lot of long range interruptions, but also long range initiation. You can blink in with the Batrider, you can hook in with the Clockwork, or get an arrow up, and they can go high ground. It's a team that goes high ground easily if they feel like they have the upper hand, which is of course the case at this point.
Yeah, but see, in the last little bit there, we actually saw the power that the Power Shot and the and the Chakram have. There was a big creep wave then, a lot of creeps, and they're all completely dead very, very shortly from that. And Goomba, it's going to take them a long time to actually siege the enemy base. They do have the Aegis though, so it's all just about timings and the perfect positioning for them, but for the moment, as long as they can keep this going, they should be able to turtle out for a while here, and that will play into their hands because they do have the Midas, they do have the stronger late game hero in the Weaver, but even if they do manage to take this late game, it's still dangerous because there's a Doom up, and Weaver is very, very weak versus Doom.
Yep, we have got Batrider. He attempted to go from the side and actually tried to try to get a lasso off, but it was cut out by XPC. As I think that weave was a bit short range, it could have been a bit long
wow.
range.
Disruptor's finished up an Aghanim Scepter already. Just rushed this.
It's only 25 minutes into this game, it's insane. Hookshot comes in, Chill is the one to start this off. He's kind of regretting it though, taking a large beating, but Near, he'll be the one to try and finish it. He will get Fiend's Grip sitting inside of his BKB though, and sitting next to his Sentry Ward of course as well. The Moonlight Shadow is not giving him safety. We do have the Wind Ranger still dying. Marana does lose her Aegis, as there is another lasso, or there is a lasso right now. That was the one on the Weaver, which is of course the most important target. They still get the Clockwork kill with the Chakram, but losing a Weaver, losing the Dazzle, losing the Wind Ranger still puts this fight into the hands of Goomba, even if they do not have an Aegis anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Goomba, they lose one person from that. The Weaver, he did his absolute best, but he still got hit by an arrow mid-fight there, and that pretty much secured his death. If he hadn't been, he'd probably been okay.
Yeah, and that's gonna be Bane picked up as well, just flown over by that Batrider. Timbersaw, last one alive. Luckily, there is not that many levels up on the Dazzle, so he's going back up, only level 8. If you compare that to the rest, I mean, you can just see it on the side here. Level 15, highest level hero on the side of Goomba, level 12 the lowest, and then you come with level 8 and level 9 supports on the side of XPC. That's a big difference right there. But also,
it's a hard game to be an XPC support, let's be fair. I mean, the Bane in particular is having an absolute mare of a game. I think to an extent we predicted it in the draft, and they didn't run the combos either, so he really struggled. What was that?
Punnies, he's having a nightmare of a game!
Oh, I didn't even realize I'd done that. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that one.
But I mean, you're absolutely right. The towers are still up for Goomba apart from one, and that is one of the sources of gold that a support normally kind of relies on in terms of game progression. And yeah, it is a tough game to be a support in. We also see that, I mean, this Dazzle has died 7 times in total. I mean, it's 8 to 27, let's not kid ourselves, right? It is very, very, very much in favor of Goomba, who are almost 20k gold in favor, 14k experience in favor. They have not taken down a Rex, and they have backed off again, and here comes, of course, experience back into play. They do not overextend, they're very controlled in terms of their pushes and their movement, but do they hereby give XPC another chance? And if so, how are they gonna try to grab the opportunity to still maybe get a comeback into this game?
Well, XPC for the moment, they're going to look for a smoke gank. That's always a smart option, but their best option is just turtling. Like I said before, they have great heroes for actually just defending the high ground. Obviously, Goomba can initiate anytime they want, but if the Weaver's out there farming, they'll at least be more efficient than Goomba are.
Moonlight Shadow coming out, looks like Mir is going to be a goner. Indeed, that's a good smoke gank though. And actually,
yeah, and exactly what they needed to do. Dominating off a smoke gank, it just gives you more time, because Goomba, they'll struggle to invade the enemy base with only 4 heroes. I mean, they're trying to, at the moment, at least put some pressure on this mid lane, but they know they can't take this Rax with only 4 heroes up. The Batrider is incredibly important to actually try and take out the Weaver in particular. Obviously, there's other things they can use to deal with that, but yeah, for the moment, this has bought them a lot of extra space, a lot of extra farm, and that's pretty important.
It is indeed, as we do have Goomba backing off a bit indeed. Still hanging around mid though. They're trying to not give XPC extra space there in that middle lane, and perhaps also inside that Radiant jungle. XPC is kind of forced back towards their own base because that mid lane is getting pushed in. But I'd say that was a successful excursion. For a moment there I was scared that they were gonna go middle again and maybe throw their just hard-earned kill away again by losing more than just one. But,
Yeah, I was a little bit worried too, but they played it well. They just kept out on the map, and they gave themselves more time, right? Because Goomba, they were grouped up as 4, and XPC, as soon as they got that kill, they actually spread out completely. 1 or 2 people were around the base. For instance, the Dazzle was around the base, and the Weaver was all the way up at the top, and that's something that's incredibly important for a team that needs more farm, is to spread out and be as efficient as possible, because if you stick as 5 all the time, and you're behind on gold, it's only going to get worse at this point.
Yep.
And they're actually, yeah, I mean, they're clawing it back a little bit. The gold graph, it's gone slightly more towards their favor. I mean, it's a long climb.
Yeah.
A long climb. But it's definitely doable. I mean, that is a huge climb, right? 20k gold lead at 30 minutes, but they definitely have the heroes to do it, to at least bring it back to a point where they can contest the game. I mean, I think it's fair to say that until this point, they haven't been contesting this game. They've been getting sorely beaten.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just being beaten up.
And as if they can actually hold their own with that gold deficit the way it is, imagine what they could do if they start taking down some towers. Perhaps there is indeed still a chance for them, as we do have the Wind Ranger trying to get her Scythe of Ice up. We have the Weaver, of course, with a bit more items. The Lincoln's is now done. He has drums. He still doesn't have boots, which is... I mean, it's
I think
okay.
he's just skipping them this game.
Yeah, we've seen it.
That's
done
understandable,
before.
I think.
Shikushi does bring it to max movement speed, so in theory you don't necessarily need boots. However, I wouldn't mind seeing them, to be honest, because you can't always use your Shikushi if you're silenced. So
yeah, the thing is, boots are technically kind of inefficient on a Weaver. Pretty much any boots, and it looks like he's picked up Blades of Attack here, so he's good. Yeah, he's just gonna go for straight damage items, straight fighting items. Yeah, like you said, it's not as... He's not going to be anywhere near as fast moving around when he's not in Sakuchi, but it is technically an inefficient item on him, and I think this game, he needs everything he can possibly get.
yeah, we already have got Goomba walking high ground. They've got a gem as well, so those wards are not doing anything. In comes the Doom, dooming up the Timber Saw. The main priority this fight is already dead. Bought back though, we'll be back here shortly. The BKB on Nier, not really doing all too much for them apart from allowing him to fly around. The Moonlight Shadow will block their escape. And I think that buyback on the Timber Saw kind of caused them to worry a bit. I mean, I was not expecting to see them back off so fast, but they used everything.
Yeah, they committed everything onto that Timber Saw there. Got him, and then he... No.
It's arrow time. Got hit by an arrow, dies, and now Timber Saw in some trouble. Dead again for the second time, now without buyback. It is gonna be the Bane that will die 3rd, and I think Wind Ranger will be 4th, and then only Dazzle, the last one surviving inside his base for the moment, but a long-range arrow gets the kill still. This is indeed GG, as Goomba will be our first 2-game winning victors to go to the playoffs. So Goomba will be joining the Balkan Bears and House of Gamers. I had to think about that one for a bit, but they will be joining those 2 teams in the playoffs. And of course, we're going to see ourselves another game. We're going to see XPC International again, this time up against the winner of the loser bracket first round, which was of course Reincarnate and Next Please Gaming. So one of those 2 teams will be up against XPC International.
Yeah, and I mean, a little bit of an odd ending there. We were just saying about how XPC, they'd managed to defend their base. They had to buy back on the Timber Saw, but it ended up being worth it. And then Weaver just gets arrowed, and it's just a bad situation. Goomba, they can just immediately capitalize on that. And yeah, XPC go down. They fought pretty hard, though, and they had the potential definitely to turtle that game out, but it's very difficult to play from that kind of gold deficit. The difference, even on, for instance, your supports, you know, who have basically nothing at that point, brown boots and a soul ring on the Bane. Disruptor was running around with an Aghanim Scepter and a gem on his back and a few other items as well, so... Yeah, it's a difficult situation, but... Yeah, I'm interested to see both these teams continue on, and like you said, one of them have already gone on.
Yeah, we're gonna see if XPC can still get a win in their next game, so stick around. We'll be right back with the 3rd game of this evening, and of course, once again, you are watching the Dota 2 Romania Spring Cup, and we are gonna see XPC International going up against either Next Please Gaming or Reincarnate. Which one of the 2? We'll find out soon, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.